Welcome to our 5-minute podcast series where we have conversations with folks who are involved with the Jimmy for Hyattsville campaign and that live in or work around the area of Hyattsville. So today we're very lucky to have our very own leadership team member, Jamesha Cox, who's going to tell us a little bit about her story. So Jamesha, I want to turn it over to you. How's it going today?
It's going well. I'm excited to be here and to be featured on your podcast series.
Yes, the very first one. So like I had mentioned, Jamisha and I have known each other for a long time. But until recently, we'd lived very far apart. So you want to talk a little bit about, just tell us a little bit about who you are, and what your story is, so far.
Sure, sure. And I believe we met in middle school, right?
Yeah, 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 I guess we did meet in middle
So many
school.
years ago. I think it was like
Right.
student government. So it's again, it's not a surprise that your values and your just your vision for wanting to change things and being active has led you here. So this has been your trajectory has been very exciting. But yes, we grew up in Cocoa, Florida. It's on the Space Coast near Cape Canaveral.
Yeah, I
I,
always
I
say like where the rocket ship goes off. That's
Yes,
usually
that's
what
what
I
I always tell people, like
yeah,
45 minutes from Orlando or Disney World. I always try to give them those landmarks.
yeah.
Cocoa Beach, and then everyone says like, "Oh, Ron John, serve shot." Like it
Accurate.
helps the light bulb go off, and I'm like, Cocoa Beach. It's totally different.
Yeah.
But what I love about Cocoa, and you probably noticed this with Hyattsville, is that it was so diverse.
Mhm.
Um, I think, and again, I think bringing it back to your campaign, I think it's very natural for you to include everyone in your message. And as you um, get involved in the community, that's probably what helped you, fall in love with Hyattsville just because of its diversity. Um, and I think Coco really shaped my values as well. Just growing up, my dad, he was a porter and a forklift operator at Port Canaveral. My mom, she worked in telecommunications, so she was a 911 operator. She worked at an answering service. She just got accepted into a nursing program. Actually, she's going to start classes
Congrats.
on
Awesome.
actually exactly on her 50th birthday. So
Wow.
that's she's definitely my hero, just reinventing herself. Grandma, she just retired actually. She was an accountant for aerospace companies and space flight operations companies like United Space Alliance and Boeing. So I just think being a part of that working class upbringing, having a strong work ethic, living in a diverse community, I really think that shaped, who I am. And right now, just bringing it back to the present, I just recently moved from Tallahassee, Florida, to Washington D.C. For a position with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Mhm.
And what I do now, my full title is a community planning and development specialist. So I'm in operations for the disaster recovery and special issues division. So basically, what I do, HUD provides like flexible grants to cities, counties, and states to recover from presidentially declared disasters. So especially in low income areas. And I think you can realize like growing up in Cocoa, that's something that's close to my heart is helping those communities basically that are struggling. And then, a disaster comes and, makes it even more, crucial that for their needs and
Yeah.
so that's a little bit
Yep.
about my story.
No, that's great, and that really kind of leads into some questions I'm interested in hearing about specifically with you. So you know that this is Women's History Month. March is Women's History Month, and you talked a lot about when you introduced yourself about people who've inspired you. So I'm wondering if there are women in your life, personally, or people that you look up to, women specifically that you look up to, that you feel like have inspired you and informed your personal achievements or the things that you're hoping to do with your career.
Sure. I already mentioned my mom and my grandmother. It was really special growing up and seeing them be just strong in the public safety and public service, field. I think that really that helped me formulate who I wanted to be and what I wanted to, and that I wanted to be a service
Mhm.
to others. If I had to pick a public figure, my first thought actually comes to Oprah.
Yeah.
Just growing up watching her TV show after school. So it's like elementary school, watching the show. Middle school is when I like read her autobiography, and to this day, I still attend like any type of programming, or events that she has. I think one special thing about growing up and watching her, listening to, the shows is just her message of self empowerment
Mhm.
and self development. Like I had the vision board in high school.
Yeah.
She really helped bring out like what is your purpose, what is your calling, how will you be a service to others? Basically, what would be your contribution to the world? Like that was the first public figure that put vocabulary and words to what I always felt inside. Like, oh, I just didn't want a job that paid my bills. Like I loved, again, I think the work ethic of everyone around me, and growing up in a working class family, I definitely wanted to provide and be financially free, but also I wanted a job that would serve others and that would be purposeful. So I would definitely say Oprah, and then just the women in my family have been, I think, they've contributed the most to who who I am today.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. And, I think we all got to see Oprah at her finest on display last week with the interview with Meghan Markle. Uh, yeah, and it's just powerful to watch too how she uplifts the stories of others to inform where the world in many cases is going and what we see as acceptable and unacceptable in our society. I think it's just so powerful that someone who came up through reporting and interviewing and journalism is able to have such an impact on the world, even still today. But fantastic. I loved hearing that. Thank you. So you talked to us a little bit about the career that you do at HUD. So what got you interested in working in that sector of government specifically?
Yes, well, I studied both undergraduate and graduate degrees are in political science and
Mhm.
policy. Um, so I I've worked in the Florida legislature and the House of Representatives, and the Senate. I've worked at like the Department of Environmental Protection. So it's like I've kind of worked in that legislative and political sphere. But back to what I've been speaking about, I wanted it to be purposeful. I feel like, policy, for better or for worse, it impacts people and communities. So when I came across disaster recovery, it's a field that a lot of people really don't know about. Like you and I, we grew up in Florida, so it's like hurricanes. I mean, that's something that we're
FEMA's
used.
always there. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So it's like the disaster recovery continuum. It's like you mentioned FEMA is like
Mhm.
their emergency response,
Yeah.
but I'm in long-term disaster recovery. So these are the funds that kick in after all the other assistance from like FEMA has been exhausted.
Mhm, mhm.
So I think, that's what I enjoy the most is
Awesome.
that our funds are transformative. Like there are cities that have used funding to create underground power lines. Like that's something that is going to help them mitigate against the damage that could occur from future disasters. So
Right.
I think that's very impactful.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that I think even as you're talking, that's connecting to what's going on in Hyattsville. I know, you live in the DMV as well. When we think about recovery efforts here, but specifically when we were talking about power lines, we have a lot of power lines around. It's just making me think
Yeah,
about why aren't these things buried yet?
right.
But that's just some personal thing, I guess. When I see them, I'm always curious of why they're there. But great. Well, thank you so much. So, like I said, this is just a short conversation today. those who are listening, Jamesha might be knocking on your door soon. Like I said, she's working with the Jimmy for Hyattsville campaign to get our message out there of inclusion, sustainability, and affordability. So before we let you go, Jamesha, times are tough for a lot of folks right now, and especially in this area of the country, we feel like, we've been under lockdown for quite some time. So I always like to ask folks, what's something that you're looking forward to in the coming days and weeks?
Well, aside from the campaign, I'm very excited to contribute to that effort, and I'm very excited for that. Also, I'm just excited to be able to travel again,
Yeah,
hopefully, one of these days. I pre registered recently to receive the vaccine, so fingers
great.
crossed
Congrats.
that I received that. So just, continue to be mindful and grateful for, the blessing of being able to telework,
Right.
assist with your campaign, just my day-to-day activities with the, just the faith that things will get better, and that we will continue to get through this.
Great. Thank you so much, Jamisha. It was wonderful hearing from you again. For anybody else too who's looking for ways to get involved, and thinking about how we can continue to contribute to this message of thinking about what life post-pandemic looks like, and continuing to increase that progressive spirit that we have here in Hyattsville, you can always visit my website at jimmyforhyattsville.com, and click the Join Us button, and we would be happy to hear from you as well. So thank you so much, Jamesha, and we'll talk again soon.